Good morning. Couple of quick announcements before we do anything else. First of all, our coffee volunteer list is getting in need of filling. And so I'm going to pass around the clipboard as I have done before if you feel like filling it out so that you would like to help with coffee on one of our Sundays upcoming, please feel free to do that. And I would just say if you sign up for Palm Sunday, 13th of April, you will be cooking with me. So that you will need like an apron, a crash helmet, things like that. So I'm going to start over here. You're laughing at me already, so I'm giving you the clipboard first. And the second thing I want to say this morning is I've been up to the mountain and Ambry took me there. Thank you for looking after things last week. Bless you, my brother. Appreciate it very much. Always nice to know that you can leave. Anyway, it's always nice to know that there are people smarter than you around to look after things. So thank you, Ambry. Henry Nouwen wrote, "It is central to the biblical tradition that God's love for people should not be forgotten. It should not be forgotten. It should remain with us in the present when everything is dark, when we are surrounded by despairing voices, when we do not see any exits. Then we can find salvation in a remembered love, a love which is not simply a wistful recollection of a bygone past, but a living force which sustains us in the present through memory. Love transcends the limits of time and offers hope at any moment of our lives. Today, you and I bring our memories of love. Today, we come in need of a reminder of love, that we are loved and that we are called to love, and that our love is the sustaining force that sustains others. I'm Cameron Watts. I'm the minister here at Fairlawn Avenue United Church. I identify as he, him, and this is the first Sunday of Lent. It is our acknowledgement of the deserts in our lives, that we bathe in and direct the streams of love in these deserts, in this creation. So today, if you are feeling parched, welcome. If you have been burned by the withering scorch of the antagonism of others, welcome. Find healing in the wilderness. If you are looking for a way to channel that love which you have been given to others, welcome. Find purpose in the wilderness. If you, like many in the United Church of Canada, choose to bring life to the desert that our forebears created in the communities of our Indigenous kin, if you have come to choose to seek justice for the Huron, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga of the New Credit peoples, welcome. Today is the day after International Women's Day, and we are humbled by the persistence of the women who called for justice for the 4 known to be buried in a Winnipeg landfill. The women in their families and communities triumphed over bigotry, decried the lack of concern of the powerful, so their sisters' remains could be returned to their families. And today we honor them as part of our truth and our reconciliation. Lent has begun, the season of questioning what is of true value, what is distraction, what diminishes us, what we might be. If we manage to focus not on what we lack, but on what we need, not on what we might gain, but on what we might surrender for the sake of being more human, more integrated as spiritual beings, more, we dare to say, like Jesus. From the deep wilderness of chaos, you brought forth the refuge of your heart. God, our God, creating. This creation was entrusted to those shaped in your image, the first fruits of your love. Seeking to be generous to all, you continued to send prophets to us, people who carried your words to us in their hands and their hearts. You sent the word near to us in Jesus, the one who came to reveal your grace to us. To the best of our knowledge, the book of Deuteronomy greatly postdates the time of the Exodus. It was written at a time when they were trying to codify what it meant to live together in a land as a group of people. And so our reading from Deuteronomy 26, verses 1 to 11, is about what it means to live in thanksgiving after having traveled through a wilderness. When you go into the land the Lord your God is giving you as your own, to take it over and live in it, you must take some of the first harvest of crops that grow from the land the Lord your God is giving you. Put the food in a basket and go to the place where the Lord your God will choose to be worshipped. And say to the priest on duty at that time, "Today I declare before the Lord your God that I have come into the land promised our ancestors that he would give us." The priest will take your basket and set it down in front of the altar of the Lord your God. And then you shall announce before the Lord your God, "My father was a wandering Aramaean. He went down to Egypt with only a few people, but they became a great, powerful, and large nation there. But the Egyptians were cruel to us, making us suffer and work very hard. So we prayed to the Lord, the God of our ancestors, and he heard us. When he saw our trouble, hard work, and suffering, the Lord brought us out of Egypt with his great power and strength, using great terrors, signs, and miracles. Then he brought us to this place and gave us this fertile land. And now I bring part of the first harvest from this land that you, Lord, have given me. Place the basket before the Lord your God and bow down before him. Then you and the Levites and foreigners among you should rejoice, because the Lord your God has given you good things to you and your family." In many rural churches across Canada, there was, and in some places still is, a day set aside in October when families brought their significant offerings for the year. On those days, it was usually a Tuesday, I don't know why, they made the minister sit behind their desk and accept the offering from each person as they came in on that day. Except this minister has never known how much anyone in any of his churches has given, except himself. And so I always absented myself on that day, and they got to leave it there, and we would talk on another day. I did not want to know what they were bringing. It was important. They knew how much they had made on their crops. They knew how much they had made on their livestock. And they came to fulfill and even exceed their pledges to their communities of faith. Now, I'm sure to some of you that sounds very quaint. It's a nice tradition. Except that there might be a few of you who wait until you see how your portfolios have done in December before you decide how much to give to the church at the end of the year. Not so quaint, just common sense. You determine late in the year how much to donate to Fairlawn and the other causes you embrace based on how you have done financially in the year gone by. People brought what they could once they knew what they could bring. That is not what happens in Deuteronomy's description. Hang on to that for a second. We are in Lent. It is a time when we think about the discipline of giving things up so that we can focus our minds and our hearts on what is truly important, but that's only half of it. The other half of what we do with Lent is what we determine to do with that extra money or time or energy that we usually spend on something else. What are we going to do with it now? We have set it free. The time and energy are not being spent on what we gave up. So what do we do with it now? That is the question, the second question of Lent. And the passage we heard from the book of Deuteronomy today is appropriate for Lent because it's about surrendering the first fruits of our labor to God, a gift. First fruits are not what we know we have done by the end of the year. First fruits are the exhilarating part of our labor before we go, wow, that's going to be such a good year on the farm because we've done so well so far already. Great success. The first harvest, the first newborn lambs, the first evidence of a successful investment. That's first fruits. And it is placed before God because the Lord your God has given good things to you and your family. Say that again, straight from the book of Deuteronomy, because the Lord your God has given good things to you and your family. Now, to the best of my knowledge, none of you owns an olive grove, nor a sheep farm. If you have a winery, I'd like to know. But you do not bring first fruits in the same way that the children of Israel were expected to. What we all have, all of us, is a measure of wisdom, of energy, of life experience, of skills, that the discipline of Lent suggests we devote to possibilities and people beyond our self-care. The Holy One deserves the best you have to offer. It's not about what we have at the end of the year, it's about the value of what we have now. It may mean sacrifice, not just of alcohol or chocolate or swearing, but the best of our time and energy we give to our favorite pursuits. The best of our time and energy we give to our favorite pursuits. This is the bounty of Lent that we set aside. Hear me, there is no suggestion anyone among us is not doing enough. In spite of all the messages to the contrary, Lent is not about guilt. Some of you have heard me say this before. As a Baptist, I do not do Lent well because Baptists make people feel guilty all year round. We don't need one season to do it. Lent is not about guilty pleasures. The suggestion is, and hear this, the suggestion, not the law, the suggestion is that we take time to examine what gets the best of our time, what gets the best of our energy. What are my priorities? And maybe I can reset them just a little bit. And when I figure out what my priorities are, I can happily act on that self-knowledge. Happily. Not out of resentment or guilt or some sense of, oh, maybe this will help me feel better about myself. No. Happily. You're expecting a pitch, aren't you? Here it is. Last week, you received an email from me about how we are discerning the near future for Fairlawn. Everything in that description is possible. But one thing or one person we need is someone to help steer that vision. A chair of governing council. A number of us have shared that responsibility. But if you are intrigued by what governing council has proposed and you are willing to consider helping to helm this good ship, talk to me. If you're wondering if you qualify, ask yourself these questions. 2 questions. Can Fairlawn make a difference to a world in turmoil? And can I bring leadership to help make that difference? This isn't about management. It's about helping lead us through a vision. Can Fairlawn make a difference? Can I make a difference to a world in turmoil? The story of Jesus in the wilderness that the choir sang about and that we will repeat over and over in these weeks, the story of Jesus in the wilderness is a story of him asking exactly the same question. Can I make a difference in a world of turmoil? And for him, the bounty of Lent could have been food, power, reputation, but he eschewed all of those temptations for a path of trust in the Spirit and service. That's a good reflection, and I was ready to wrap up there. Content to have made my pitch, but I spent part of the last couple of weeks wondering who does make a difference in this world. And I spent time on my study leave considering religious notions of gender equity because I hope to spend some time with a bunch of people who are trying to figure that out in the fall. But all of it crystallized in an hour spent with the story of Brahmaturani. I heard the story from a female monk at the ashram Bhikkhuni Nirothram, just south of Chiang Mai. In Thailand, it is illegal for monks to be female. But at this ashram, all of the monks are female and all of them are ordained as monks. They may serve anywhere in the country as monks, but they are not entitled to the benefits. And anyone who ordains them is subject to arrest. So most of them have to travel to another place where Theravada Buddhism is observed, and they go to Sri Lanka to be ordained. And they come back, and they are monks, and in Thailand they are recognized as monks as long as no one in Thailand ordained them. It's illegal. But at this all-female monastery, they find ways to serve their communities. And this ashram is a powerful feminist ethos. Even the huge statue of the Buddha has feminine countenance and hair. Subtly or overtly, depending on what you see. But Brahmaturani is in her own category. She is the Thai earth goddess who saved the Buddha. As he was seeking enlightenment, he was assailed by the demon Mara. And Mara tempted the Buddha with thirst, desire, and discontent. Sound familiar? Like Satan tempting Jesus in the wilderness. And the temptation was powerful and the Buddha was assailed, and the Buddha touched the ground. Some say to steady himself, and some say to summon help. And Pra Me Torani arose from the ground, the Thai earth goddess, her hair dripping wet. And she wrung out her hair, and the cool waters of detachment and generosity poured from her hair and washed Mara away. She sounds like a lovely young woman. But this is how she is portrayed at the ashram. Would you put her picture up, please? Doesn't look too subtly meek, does she? She's muscular. She's strong. She knows exactly what she's doing. And in this world in turmoil, I wonder if it's the women like her who will save us. There is a self-styled destroyer of worlds operating south of the border. He has demonstrated many things, but one of the things he has demonstrated that people have forgotten is that he has a consistent inability to deal with strong women. And I wonder if it is the strong women who will save us. He attempts to demean them, but he is no match for the likes of Melanie Joly, Claudia Scheinbaum, Janet Mills, Mette Friedrichsen, the women of the U.S. Democratic Caucus, Bishop Marianne Budd, all of whom stand up and say, "You're wrong." And no. They and their less well-known sisters could make all the difference for us. Keep your eyes on them. And now, as I invite you to pass the peace, if one of the people that you pass the peace to is a woman of strength, then thank her for her strength. Peace to you. Thank you for all that you bring for each other. Your wisdom, your strength, your smarts, your life experience, your skills. Thank you for all that you bring into our midst, not just for our sake, but for the sake of what we can do together. And thank you as a symbol of all that you bring for the offerings that we acknowledge today. I invite you to join with me in our closing confession and offer the words that are emboldened and italicized. Jesus began his ministry to the world, led by the Spirit into the wilderness. In those 40 days and in that place, Jesus was faced with hunger, doubt, and temptation. Jesus left the wilderness faithful and obedient to God, rejoicing in the one in whom he trusted. Pray with me, if you will. Now let us go from this place of haven the Creator has given to us. Led by the Spirit, we will go to be with those who are filled with fears, with hopes. Led by the Spirit, we will go to feed those who hunger for companionship and life. Now we go into the world, living out God's reality, that there is no distinction between people. Led by the Spirit, we go to serve the kindred who are our true family. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate this content, please share it with your friends. Consider giving us a like, subscribing, and hitting the notification icon, as it really helps our channel. And as always, be good to you.